Welcome to the Christian Youth Camp Podcast. At Camp Chioka, it has been our mission for over 50 years to lead campers into a deeper relationship with Jesus Christ and each other. These conversations share the heart of our camp family in efforts to lead us all into a deeper relationship with the Lord. Today on the podcast, we have Jordan Summitt, Digital Media Manager at Buck Commander and also a parent to two of our campers. He serves Camp Chioka so willingly, whether through archery, videography, mentoring counselors with his wife, or being our personal fitness coach at 7 a.m. He'll talk with us about the patience that he has learned from youth, especially as a parent, and watching us counselors do our jobs. Working with social media and TV, he'll share his heart with the role of media in the kingdom. While we know that the kingdom is not built in the media room, it is certainly helpful, so I'm excited for y'all to grow with us today. We have Jordan Summitt with us today, who is a father to two of our sweet campers. And what has coming out to camp and seeing it for yourself meant to you?
Oh my gosh, this place. So I've lived in West Monroe for quite a while, about 15 years. And actually, Camp Chioka was the first house that I had when I moved here. Nobody was in the house up there, the maintenance house. And when I started working for Willie at Buck Commander, he was trying to help me out. You know, the Robertsons are a great family, and they're very, very helpful and take care of us. And anyway, Willie was like, man, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you get a house, you know, that you can live in. So it was really hard to find a place to rent around here. So Willie hooked us up with a house up at front, and Reeves is in now. And that's where we lived for like the first 3 years of our marriage. And at that time, I think there was like a little transition, you know, where camp wasn't on and off, or it was kind of on and off as far as what was going on here. And so we literally just lived on this 100 acres.
Wow.
And so I'd come walk down, I'd go fishing at the pond, you know, stuff like that. And, you know, really it was just kind of our own little oasis. But I never did really get to see it with all the campers here, because I just lived up at the front. So I wasn't involved with the camp. Once camp started, I was away from all of that. So I was doing my thing. I'd go to the office every day and do my work there. And so I never really got to see the camp side of it. I knew the grounds. I knew it was an awesome place. It's beautiful out here. And but I just didn't get to see, you know, how everything was. And so we've been married about 2.5 years, and then we had our first son, Rhett, and born in that house, raised in that house for 2 years, and then we ended up moving, and somebody else moved in there, and now I'd say my son's probably, I got two boys. One of them this is going to be his first year here.
Yeah.
The other one, Rhett, he's been coming for 5 or 6 years, and you know, it's just, I've told you guys this before, but you know, when you come drop off your kid here, you know, especially with the day campers, you get to hear it every day, like what they did that day and everything. And you're usually driving, and I, just being honest with you, I might take in 25% of that, you know, because there's just so many stories. But they're so excited and they're ready to come back. It's awesome, you know.
Yeah. And
so then once you have overnight camp, you know, then you don't see them for a week. You know, you're just ready to see your kids, and just been so long, and it just feels like an eternity since you've seen them. And so you're ready to get home and or bring them home and see them and hear all those stories. And when they come for an overnight session, then multiply the day session stories by, you know, 10.
And they can't stop talking, but they're also so tired.
It's for a week, you know,
Yes.
solid, that they're still talking about that, and they're singing the songs that they learned here. They're telling Bible stories that they learned. You know, you're hearing all this stuff. And yeah, I mean, it's awesome to hear that as a parent. But then last year, when I started working here, I got to visually see that.
Yeah.
I got to see the kids out there doing all these activities. I got to hear the stories that they had been telling me. My son had been telling me. I'd see my son every day, you know, and I'm trying to keep my distance because, you know, hey, he's supposed to be here, you know, old dad's, you know, over there in the archery area. And he's excited to come to archery because he gets to see me, you know, on that day. But I'm like, hey, you know, go be a camper, do your thing, and stuff like that. And so I wanted him to be able to experience this place. Even though I'm here, I'm like a fly on the wall. I'm watching it from a distance. And that's why I was with all of the counselors and all the kids. I worked over in archery, and I would have, 2 or 3 groups of kids every day come through there, and we'd do all of our archery lessons, and we'd do the walkthrough on the course, and it was all good and fun. But a lot of it was just me just kind of watching people, because I'll be honest, when I came to this place, I don't want to say I had the best attitude. I went at the best point in my life spiritually.
Yeah.
And it was really tough adjustment for me going from running cameras and editing every day. It was just a change in jobs. Still working for Buck Commander, but just doing a different thing. So it was new. And so when I came down here, it really, I want to say it was almost like an attitude adjustment a little bit, because I got to see these college students that didn't know my kid from anybody and how well they treated him.
Yeah.
And they were all like big brothers and big sisters to him. And I learned patience from watching you guys deal with kids. And I consider myself a pretty seasoned veteran when it comes to dealing with children. I got 2 of them. So, and I got nieces and nephews. And so I think, hey, I'm pretty good at being able to handle kids. But then when I come out here, things that would drive me crazy about my kids at the house, I see you guys handle way, more than that with tons of kids. And so you guys really made more of an impact on me than me helping this camp at all. Yeah. Like, everybody was thanking me every day, thanks for helping with archery. I'm like, man, I'm just a bow hunter, cameraman from Arkansas that's just blessed to be here.
Yeah.
And anyway, back to your question, what did I take away from this? Camp? What is my take on it? There's too many things to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Which I think is for everyone who's had the Camp Choke experience. Yeah. But going more specifically into patience, why is that important in living a Christian life, to be patient in all regards, not just with kids?
Patience is something that's not easily acquired. But when you pray for patience, God may not just give you the patience. I'm struggling with this. My son's driving me crazy about whatever. And I'm trying not to get upset. I'm trying to have patience, right? Or if it's patience as, I'm waiting for my moment in life, this next job. I'm trying to be patient, Lord. God's not just going to go, there you go, you got patience, and then all of a sudden everything's all right. He's going to make you work for that patience. Yeah. So you've got to go through things to acquire that patience. And so, like I said, out here, I dealt with my son when he would come through archery. I would deal with other kids. But then I would watch you guys and how you dealt with kids. And I learned a lot from that. Just going, man, these guys really got patience. And they're dealing with 150 kids out here. I've got 2 at home, and they're about to make me pull my hair out.
You do have them every day, though.
I do have them every day.
We give you credit.
But you guys are out here in the elements. I mean, it's just, I don't know. You guys really inspired me last year. And so that was one of the things I told you before we got started, was just my patience just grew immensely just being here. And it wasn't like I was put through any trials or anything like that, or really grow patience, I guess. It was just more, it was an inspiration to learn to, hey, you can work through that stuff. You can be more patient. I mean, you're watching these kids out here. I call y'all kids. I mean, watching these young men and young ladies out here being able to handle all these children, and they're doing fine. And you got some kids that are doing great, and you got some kids that not real sure if they want to be here, and they're a little rougher, and you guys are, hey, come on. And then by the end of the week, you see all these kids just come together, and they're all crying. You guys are crying because you got it was so funny too. Like, I say funny, but I was here for the whole summer, and usually I would be here on closing day every day. Yeah. When everybody was wrapping up going home, and it was the same thing every week. You had a new group of kids that you only got to know for like a week. Yes. But y'all were all crying and hugging and taking photos.
And Monday you see them running away to their parents if it's day camp, but then by Friday it's...
That's right.
I don't want to leave. Can I still spend the night next
Exactly.
week?
And my son was one of them. I mean, he was, Daddy, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to, miss you and Mama on his first day when he was like 6 years old. And then now he's like, when is Camp Chioka?
Yeah.
I cannot wait to go back.
What have you learned from them and their excitement and just looking forward to things? Because I know you said, like, all year, they like look at Smug Mug and YouTube, and I've just heard multiple campers' parents say that. So what do you see in their excitement?
I tell you what, with both my boys, so my younger son, because I worked out here last year, he kind of would come with me, and he would get to do the little day camp. So he actually did get to be here last year a little bit, but and he's a mama's boy from way back. I mean, just doesn't want to leave mama. And there's a couple of the girl counselors out here that just did wonderful with him. Yeah. And it was funny because he still remembered, like, when we wanted to invite some of you guys over after the session, the sessions were over last year. And he would ask specifically for certain ones, certain counselors. He was like, are they coming? Are they coming? And then now we're a year later, and I'm talking about, hey, I'm going to go up to camp and visit with some of the counselors. We're going to do a podcast, telling them about it the other day. And he was like, oh, is so-and-so going to be there? I want to talk to them.
That's too sweet.
Can I go up there? And so the things that they remember, too. And then, my older son, he gets on YouTube. I mean, that's today's youth now is YouTube and social media and all that stuff. And so he's getting on Smug Mug, he's getting on the website, he's getting on YouTube, and he's like looking at photos, just remembering things and talking about them, and just their excitement building up to this year has just been crazy. I mean, they like, Dad, can I go stay out there all summer? Do they have a package where you can just start day one and come back on the last day of camp? Just go through all the sessions. Yeah. Unfortunately, we don't. Maybe we should offer that. But anyway.
You wouldn't see our patience abounding, maybe.
It might be a little tough for them.
That's what was cool. We had a Zoom call with all of staff, I think last night, and one of the girl counselors that's grown up here, literally her bedroom is like Camp Chioka theme. Not intentionally, but because all the things she loves the most have come from camp, and it's just on her wall. So I can't imagine if I had grown up here and had like that love and that excitement every single year.
And I follow several of y'all on social media, and what's really cool about it is when you follow somebody on social media, you can really see a lot of who they are, right? Yeah. And that's away from camp. Okay, so I see you during camp. I see how you are, and how well you do. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I've been a lot of places, and I've met a lot of people, and I've just been very blessed in the line of work that I do. But I've met a lot of people, and some of the best people that I've ever met in this world are at this camp. Wow. And so literally, like, people that I would invite over to my house, hey, take my kid for a week if you want. And like, they want to come get on the treehouse with my boys. Like, they're just excited, And anyway, but going back to the social media things that you see, I get to see how you are at camp and how you are with all these other counselors, how you are with the campers in a group. It's a Christian environment, right? And so I get to see that. But then once the fall gets here and y'all go back to school or work or whatever it is you do, I still see you promoting Camp Chioka and the Christian lifestyle, which is awesome. That's really great for a parent. And that's something I would tell all the parents. Like, if you're a parent listening to this and you're wondering if Camp Chioka is the place to send your child, we've got second to none on counselors. I mean, just second to none. All these counselors are great people, just good Christian people, all of them, and they're great with kids. So anyway.
It did not take me long after starting to work here to realize that our counselors aren't just following the Lord over summer. And I quite quickly knew these are going to be my forever friends and my forever people, because they do pursue the Lord year round. And talking about like your sons and having them kind of grow up around us during the summer, but you get them the whole year. So how has being a father better showed you like the heart of God as a father?
Being a father is, which we've got Father's Day coming up, I guess. So being a father to me, it's the most special thing you could ever have. I mean, other than, I guess, being a mother, but being a father is just something. You got kids that, like my two boys are super loving and just tender-hearted. Just Don't know where they got it from. Can't be from me. It must have been their mother. But they are the sweetest kids, and how they think of others, especially in times like right now. They we don't do a whole lot of news at our house just because it's depressing and whatnot. But they hear it, in other ways, and they see it, and they see how people act out in public, and the thoughts that go through their head, and what comes out of their mouth about things are just the sweetest things ever. And my youngest son, he'll go in like what was it? It was. Maybe what? Yeah, I guess it was Father's Day. The other day, we were at my house, and he came up to me with a little gift bag. He said, "Happy Father's Day, Dad." And I was like, "Well, thank you, son. Well, Father's Day is not till next week, And he said, "No, I went ahead and got you some stuff." So I opened the bag, and it's a pair of my shoes.
Yeah.
It's like a piece of candy from his candy drawer in the cabinet, and then like an apple. Which. To me, to any adult, you kind of laugh at it, chuckle, like, I just walked around the house and grabbed some stuff. But, like, to him, he was dead serious. So I said, thank you. And so he said, no, hold on. And so he grabs each thing out, and he tells me why it's important. It's like, here's your shoes so you can go work out in the mornings. Here's your apple so you can have that for breakfast. Like, he's thought ahead of all of that, right? I'm just thinking he walked around the house and picked up stuff. But he's literally, he's thinking ahead of why this gift is important. He didn't have to buy any of it. So when you get something like that, that's the epitome of being a dad right there.
And I just think like of us as God's children, and God asks us to give him our weakness, our brokenness, like all of our stuff, and like just leave it on the altar, and like he'll perfect it. So the fact that like he took your own stuff and like came and brought it to his dad to perfect is just such a beautiful image.
That's it.
Of who God is. Isn't that cool? Wow. Yes. And then something else you said was, it's one thing to get to hear about camp when they leave, but it's another to be here and experience that with them. And I just see so much of God in that, and that God wants to experience it every day with us, and he still wants us to tell him about it later. Like he's there, like the fly on the wall watching. Yeah. And he already knows.
Yeah, I mean, he's watching all that. He knows what you're doing at camp. He knows what you're not doing at camp. Like he knows everything. He's watching it. And that last year, that's what I got to do. I got to kind of watch it and, kind of try to figure out people. And also in my line of work, you meet a lot of different people, and there's people out there that are crooked, and then there's great people, and so I came with what's their motive here? Like, are they here for the camp, or are they here just as a social event? Are they here just because they need some money, for a summer job? Like, which none of them are. I mean, everybody was just great, and you look at them and go, well, goodness, I feel awful for even like putting up a wall there going, okay,
Yeah, it's good to ask questions because it helps you see God.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, God, you just blew away all my expectations.
That's right.
And like your purity part is present here. So in your line of work, you do like media for Butt Commander and video and stuff for them. So can you talk about how you've seen media change throughout time into what you do now? Yeah.
So kind of just a real short, I wear many hats at Butt Commander, but I guess the main line of what I do is I am a videographer. And so camera work, editing. I do a lot of social media now, and how old are you?
20.
You're 20, so I'm 35.
Okay.
And so I wouldn't call that a huge difference, but it is when you talk about technology. So when I was your age, when I was 20 years old, and I know you guys probably don't like hearing when I was your age, because when I was 20 years old, I don't want to hear some old guy telling me what.
I'm fine with it. That's why I do this.
So, but when I was your age, when I was 20 years old going to college, we had tapes. That was what we ran on our cameras, tapes. Yes. Cassette tapes, if you know what those are.
I'm familiar with the concept.
Okay, you're good with cassette tape. We didn't have memory cards. We didn't have hard drives. We didn't have any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so we had cassette tape. So that's how we, that was our main form of media. So anyway, now, just in 15 years, just 15 short years, I've seen it go from no cell phones. We didn't have social media. We didn't have a Facebook. We didn't have Twitter and Instagram. None of that. I mean, all of that. Nope. That was it. It was like if you wanted to check in on somebody, you called them on the phone. You wrote them a letter. Me and my wife, she was actually a year older than me. We would write each other letters when we were at Harding. So, I mean, we talked that way. And so we had landlines. So that's how and corded phones, that was how it was. And anyway, you see it come in 15 years to now where we're literally instant gratification on everything. I mean, you shoot a video, this podcast, you're shooting it right now. Pretty sure it's going to be airing pretty soon. Like, you can do stuff live right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing how far technology has come. And I think about that from a Christian aspect of back when I was back when I started, a cassette tape will then require you to take it, unless you were part of the news where you're live streaming through cables on a truck with a satellite going off. If you just recorded something on a cassette out here, then you've got to take it back. You've got to dump the cassette, and that would take however long you filmed. So if you filmed an hour, it would take 1 hour to dump the footage, because you would have to sit and watch it. There's no just sit there and let it, dump on the computer. You'd have to let it just play out, and you'd watch it all, and then you'd go edit it, and that would take some time. And then before you know it, it's, a month or two later, and the event's already passed and nobody cares about it anymore. Now it's like literally you're doing social media at camp with kids going on right now where they can see what's going on right now at camp.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. And we've got awesome podcasts out there, Christian podcasts. There's awesome videos you can watch on YouTube. Like, it's just amazing to me to see just how much media has changed, and how, if we use it correctly, if we use it like, God's given us the ability to have the knowledge to create this technology now. If we use it right, we can totally glorify Him way quicker. So it's pretty awesome. It's just, and now I'm the old guy, which, I've got to be able to keep up with all the youngsters that are coming in. The kid the other day that was 15 that was out there, I mean, he was running circles around me shooting video, and I was like, okay, well, now I got to step my game up on how I can do things, and so it's keeping me on my toes, but it's just amazing how fast things change, and I can't even imagine in another 15 years what it's going to be like.
Yeah, I remember you talking about just recording over cassettes and stuff accidentally.
Or you want me to tell that story?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, let's tell that story. So, we go back to the cassettes. I went on an elk hunt. It was actually my first year at Buck Commander. And I went on an elk hunt and I videoed this big elk. And this lady shoots it, and really good footage. And it was actually my first ever film a hunt on camera that I'd ever filmed. And anyway, so like I said, we're on cassette tapes, right? Well, the cassette tapes, if you don't know much about them, it's obviously tape on a reel inside of a plastic casing. And just like memory cards we have now that have a little lock button that keeps you from being able to do anything to the footage that has been recorded onto that tape.
Oh, brilliant invention.
And so, very, very, very smart. So me, being a very young green cameraman, I took the footage back and, had it on the camera and set the camera on the table there back at the shed. And anyway, we were all kind of celebrating, high-fiving. We got the elk, and then they started bringing the elk in on a trailer. And Willie looked at me and he goes, "Hey man, you need to be rolling on that." Well, I was on my camera kind of getting it queued up so that we could watch the footage. And then when I saw that elk coming, Willie's like, "Hey, you need to be rolling." So, "Oh yeah." Me trying to be Johnny on the spot, I get over there and start rolling. And in about 15 seconds into that, I'd go, "Oh no, I just realized what happened." And I immediately stopped and I walked over there and I pressed play, or rewound. I pressed play and I'm seeing like the elk coming in, all the footage that I found. I'm like, okay, good. And then I see the lady draw back her bow And then all of a sudden, it's beep, beep, beep. Here comes the tractor bringing in the elk. I totally videoed over the most important part of the hunt. I mean, it just, I was sick.
Yeah.
And I remember Willie, like, I mean, I walked up to him. I was like, I screwed up bad, dude. I really messed this up. And he said, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I said, I don't know how to tell you this, but I just recorded over the shot. And he was like, are you serious? Well, we were there with some pretty important people.
Yeah.
Some of Willie's, friends. And it was kind of embarrassing to Willie because this is, all-star
camera guy
that he brought in from college. And it's like, hey, this is how it's going to run this thing. And, and I've recorded over the best part of the hunt. And so Willie's just kind of like, I don't know what to say. He said, we'll just talk about it. So we went home, and I didn't say a word for the whole 8-hour ride back. Just didn't say a word.
And it's not that big of a deal when something happens. Like, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
But it just crushes
you. Oh, but it crushes you.
It's like when we had corrupt files the other day. It crushes you.
That's right. And so, anyway, that's in the past. But it did make, it was a good learning experience. Yeah. It was one of those things that's, it's another one.
And he kept you.
Yeah, and he kept me. I'm still here. So 15 years later, I'm still here, thankfully. And Willie, if you're listening, I really appreciate that. But, yeah, so it goes back to what I was kind of saying earlier. It was like God, when you ask God for patience, He's not just going to give you the actual patience so that you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Ask God for anything. I'm asking God, hey man, I want to grow as a cameraman. God, help me grow as a cameraman and be successful.
Yeah.
Well, my 20-year-old self isn't thinking about my 35-year-old self at the point I'm at now. I'm thinking about, I want to be the 35-year-old self right now. I want the instant gratification of it. But God's like, you're going to work for that.
Yeah.
I want you to work through the challenges to get to that point where you're going to be when you're 35 years old. And so now, and I can't say that I haven't messed up since then. I've messed up many times, like many times I've messed up. And one thing that I always tell my boys, and I tell anybody this, is just like they say, you get kicked off the horse, get right back on, keep riding. Don't quit. That is one thing in my family I've told my boys is do not quit. No matter what you're doing in life, do not quit. If you think something is tough, I guarantee it's tougher on somebody else than it is you. And so if you just don't quit, eventually ride it out. It's going to work out all right.
Yes, it will. So you've been doing this stuff for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
And why do you find it important to capture things, whether it be like you filming or editing video or social media? Why do you think those things are important to the kingdom?
So, and I actually just started filming for our church a little bit too. And to me, to be able, especially in times like right now, so you get to a point where we're all able to go to church together. We're all able to, partake in fellowship and rejoice and worship the Lord. And then all of a sudden, you got the government telling you, can't do it anymore. We got to shut that down because of COVID, And we're all looking at each other. And I think that was what I was most amazed about with this whole Corona thing, was that all these churches in America figured out how to get around this, to still be able to have fellowship and do it quickly. That goes back to what I was saying about media. If this happened 15 years ago, think about that.
You wouldn't be hearing from anyone for a while.
There wouldn't be any of this. You couldn't get on your phone every Sunday and watch the live service from your home church. You couldn't do it.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't happen. And so now with technology, God put technology there, He gave us the knowledge to go, hey, let me figure out a way around this to overcome this challenge so that we can all fellowship and worship Him.
Yeah.
And so that was really cool to see that this spring for me. And as far as to your question back out here at camp, to me, to be able to video these kids and video, and not just me, we've got a great media team and everybody does such a great job out here. I follow the social media and it's just very well done, very, very good. And it's good for parents to be able to be able to go look at that social media and know what's going on at camp or know about the improvements or, we're sorry, but we got to cancel in June. And there's all kinds of things that happen, but it's awesome to be constantly updated.
Yeah.
It makes you feel comfortable about
Definitely.
it, right? And so then once your kids come out here and you got a great media team, you got social media going on. I'm a parent who's sending my kid out here for the first time maybe. And I'm really worried about if little Johnny's going to be able to make friends. He doesn't know anybody. But then you've got this awesome media team. You've got people videoing that literally I can see it that day or at the end of the session and go, man, golly, look at all that, And so to me, that's just so cool. And I would say that people back in the day, back in the 90s and 80s and before when camp's 50 years old, I think they would love it if they could go back and watch old videos of themselves, Like they see the old pictures and we all look at all the old pictures like, oh, that's cool. We love to see how the landscapes changed and like buildings moved and new buildings being, constructed and stuff like that. And to be able to document it as it's happening, that's pretty cool.
And your sons and everyone else that they camp with will be able to look back at pictures and videos and remember, I learned this that summer.
That's
and
right.
It was real. And like God is, when they go through hard times, they can have that physical reminder of what happened. So capturing things like that. And then also, I was talking to John, Luke, and Mary Kate. Their first picture together was from a camp photographer when they were just friends. I'm like, cool? We can be capturing that stuff.
Yeah.
Just by simply doing our jobs and watching God do what he's doing.
That's right. That's right.
So I know sometimes me, like being on the media team and journalism being my major, I'll get discouraged with I'm locked away in a room all day editing and my eyeballs hurt. Yeah. And like wanting to actually go out and be with people. So how do you kind of balance doing your job but also still immersing yourself with people?
Man, it's funny. You have to. The balance is figuring out your sleep. For me, because I do the bulk of my work for when I'm doing stuff with Buck Commander, for instance. It's an all day shoot. You get up at daylight, you end at dark. I mean, we're doing something all day long with all of our guys. And when we're not hunting, it's fellowship. Just like here at camp, it's fellowship constantly. And I want to be involved in that.
Yeah.
And so I can be involved in that, but then I sacrifice some sleep. So that's kind of what I do, is I do a lot of my stuff after hours, a lot of my editing after hours. And I'll break it up, in my time during the day. If nothing's really going on, I'll find a balance there. But as far as like, man, it's tough,
so you don't want to miss out on a good conversation.
You don't. And so you really just have to figure out how to manage your time.
Yeah.
Where you can go, okay, well, I may sacrifice 2 hours of my sleep tonight so that I can edit this, but I got 2 hours of fellowship with my friends and campers and counselors that meant more than that 2 hours of sleep.
Yeah. And something that you encouraged me with is just remembering the things we're creating will be effective even if we're not able to see that.
That's right.
Immediately, because it is from a distance.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember if you or Willie were talking about this the other day, but just like moments filming Buck Commander and literally like watching people get baptized and like conversations that would happen with other cameramen and stuff like that. Like, do you have anything on how that's worked in your life?
Yeah. So with Buck Commander, we've got a group of guys that are from all different backgrounds.
Yeah.
And one thing that I really like about our show, and I know this isn't a podcast for me to talk about our show, but one thing I really do like about our show is that all of our guys have the same goal, to get each other to heaven. And it's been built that way, Willie being the founding father of it all, and then you see these guys that may have come from a past that, was leading them in the wrong direction, but then they get with a group of other guys in our crew that are an inspiration, that are living for the Lord. And then you see people get baptized. And then people that we've been to camps and then just people that have been around our guys and man, there's something different about you. Like, we're used to hunters coming in and they do their thing and you guys are different.
Yeah.
and that speaks to them. We've had other people get baptized too. Just other random that have just met our guys.
Because I've heard stories of people crying in the car, filming whatever, and I don't know what just happened.
Yeah.
In someone else's life, but now it's creating a story.
Oh, totally. We had a camera guy that just he literally, everything he filmed, he watched it all from outside, and Phil actually will tell a better story than this, but he watched it all from outside, and then he eventually said, he was like, "Hey, I hear you. I heard everything that you're saying. You guys are different." And he said, "I want in on that."
Wow.
So it's pretty cool. You never know who you're inspiring or motivating. But if you learn to work for the Lord and be a shining example of Him, you're going to motivate a lot of people and inspire a lot of people.
Yeah. So then, kind of to wrap up, the last questions we ask are, what would you tell yourself before ever coming to camp? Maybe not 5 or 6 years ago when your son started coming, but maybe just last year when you started actually seeing what was happening. What would you tell yourself before?
Tell myself?
Yeah.
As far as a parent, don't be nervous. Kick them out of the car and tell them they got it. Seriously. It's going to be fine. Yeah. It's going to be fine. They are going to grow and learn and love like they never have before. I end up, picking up my son, and, he gets to see me during the day, but he didn't get to see his mom, and we're all crying, and I get up there and I tear up, watching the videos, and I was there for half of it, just walking around doing my job. And, there was that song, forgive me if I get it wrong, but it was that High Wide Deep.
Oh, yes.
That song last year. Every time I heard you guys sing, I would hear you guys singing that from the archery area.
That's incredible.
and let's see, it was pretty much when camp was wrapped up. Yeah, I downloaded the song.
Yes.
On my phone. Okay. And so I came up here the day after everybody was gone. Camp's deserted. I came up here and I just was looking around, and I was just sad because there were
it's like an empty school.
There were no kids running around. There was nobody laughing. There was nobody. I went and rang the bell just for fun, and just so I could hear it.
Yeah.
But to be able to hear all the laughing and the playfulness going on here, and just kids being happy, it's just an amazing sound. It's just awesome.
Yes.
You could put that on a soundtrack and I'd listen to that all the time. Kids laughing, that's probably one of the greatest sounds in the world to me.
Yes. And that song is so good. There's not a time that I get in the car without the other camp counselors, and it always comes on for a year.
A constant, since I downloaded it, it's a constant request in my vehicle. Dad, can we play that? Can we play that?
I love that.
So, anyway, that song, it did a lot for my two boys.
Yes.
And, one of the things that I was telling them last year, I said, you guys would teach them about the gospel, the symbols here. And so what's funny is that I have that tattoo on my arm.
Yeah.
And my youngest son is 5, and he came up to me and he was drawing it on the ground by himself. And he was telling me what it meant. And he was like, "Dad, did you know this?" And he was telling me that.
Gosh.
And I didn't want to be a bubble buster, because
it's been here for a while.
But I just sat there and listened to it.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So where'd you learn that? I learned it at camp.
Oh my god.
Learned it at camp. Learned the gospel at camp. And he's telling me Jesus came down, he died on the cross, he went back to heaven, he's coming back one day. Went through that whole deal. And that's just amazing.
That is so cool to hear
at
their
5-year-old.
age. Because we can be so discouraged with our 5-year-olds, but to hear that he took that away is incredible.
Yeah. So,
wow.
And I had a couple of counselors over for dinner one night and told them, I said, "Hey, I want you to think about this." I think I told all of y'all this when we were doing some archery instruction the other day. And I said, just take it from somebody like me that watches from afar. I said, you have no idea the inspiration that you'll be on these kids.
Wow.
and what you will do that will lead them in the right path. You have no idea. And so just keep on keeping on. So
that's so good for all of our counselors to hear. And then last one is when it's been months since camp and your kids are really missing their camp friends and like learning about God and stuff, what is it that you tell them or encourage them to do?
Well, a lot of times what we'll do, we get on my oldest son just wants to get on the website.
Yeah.
He goes through photos. He's just flipping through photos. But a lot of the kids that he's got made friends with, they'll get on there and we'll let them do their little FaceTime to each other. You know, they exchange numbers, mom and dad's numbers, and we'll let them FaceTime and talk. And yeah, I think my older son, he was talking about starting to write letters, which I thought was really cool. I highly encourage that. Like writing letters it's an old thing, but it needs to be brought back. Yeah, and it's just something personal about a letter, you know.
Yes.
And anyway, but going through the songs, I mean, we've got a whole playlist on my phone that's just all the songs that I heard at camp, and anyway, and then you guys are doing a great job with your little YouTube stuff, and so they can go back and watch this. They listen to podcasts from last year. I mean, it's cool that you can have Camp Chioka year round without actually having to be here.
And that's so special.
You can get your Camp Chioka fix all of the months out of the year.
Yeah, and there's so many other things offered online and stuff for them to be looking at that if we can provide something for them to look at,
that's right.
That's the best thing they could be doing on the internet.
And oh my goodness, there's so much that you want to keep your kids away from, today. And it was funny, I think about myself as a kid, and my parents were, I would say I was pretty, my parents regarded me pretty good, and now that I'm older and I see the things that they guarded me from now are like 10 times worse.
Yeah.
In today's
everything's got more drastic.
It's just crazy. But you got a place like this, man. It does the heart good.
Yes, it does.
It really does.
Jordan, it has been so good to talk to you and so encouraging. Can I pray for us?
Sure.
Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the gift of camp, and thank you for the ways that you move in hearts and that you transform lives here. God, we thank you that you're our Father who sees all the things that we're doing, and you just get so excited when we want to tell you about them. And we pray for our campers, Lord, that they would keep confiding in you, that they would keep telling you how their day was and what's on their heart. God, thank you so much for Jordan and the dad that he is and just the spiritual figure that he is to all of us counselors here at camp. We thank you for the gift of patience, for the gift of childlike faith and joy. Lord, keep stretching our hearts, keep growing us in discipline so that we would learn patience, so that we can be more faithful and obedient servants to you. So in the name of Jesus, I pray, amen.
Amen.
Thank y'all so much for listening. Since the kingdom is not built in the media room, it is our hope that you take these ideas into real-life conversations with friends, family, and the Lord. Be sure to find us anywhere you can scroll at Camp Chioka and live knowing that you are loved.